The words we speak to our children, the phrases that we use, they do matter. The manner in which that we use, in the context to which we use, they do matter. It is very important though to know that the way we speak them and the context into which we use the words, even though they may look innocent to us, the children may be receiving those words or the phrases differently. So today I want us to explore what those phrases are. Actually, some of them. Personally, I have also used some of those phrases. The decode or how the child receives that information and what probably we can use instead. Those are the tips that we'll be talking about. And let's get started. Hi and Jumbo, welcome again to another video. This channel, we talk about giving children tools to be able to build self-confidence to face life, while we are supporting them socio-emotionally so that they can be able to flourish in the environment where they find themselves in. Before we start, if you're new, welcome home. This is home of where we talk about our children, how we can coexist with them and enjoy one another. Thank you so much for coming back, you who have come back, and thank you so much for your support. Keep on coming, comment, say something. Let's discuss about ways in which we can be able to help one another and give tips to one another and give insights to one another on how we can better be able to raise our children in a way that we are enjoying them and in a way that they're flourishing in their own world. So let's get started. This is a topic that is actually a little hard because, again, just like the way another video I talked about, maybe the way we use our words and we don't actually necessarily kind of consider maybe how the children get. It is of dire consequence and what the children internalizes. We discovered in the past that the child consider you, the parent, mom and dad, the caregivers, the teachers, and the adults in their lives actually as great, or they're just grander. Their lives depend on them. And so in a word that comes across, it has weight. It is not just a casual word. And where we adults may be talking about it as casual, it is not casual to them. So, number one, one of the things which I hear, and honestly, I don't know how, of course, each one of us, when we hear this, it kind of links somewhere. I don't know where it goes to our psyche, and we get so irritated. One of the things we do is to ask the children to stop crying. Yeah, when they are throwing that beautiful tantrum, and we tell them, stop crying. The question is, you want to stop that behavior. Of course, you're getting irritated. And it is hard to see a child cry and you're not able to help them, maybe to whatever it is that is causing them to cry. But I will tell you today what the child hears. What the child hears is, oh my emotions are not good. I'm not supposed to show my emotions. I'm not supposed to show what it is that I feel. I feel this way. Can you imagine the betrayal the child feels? It's like they internally feel that way, and yet they cannot express themselves because their daughter are not going to be happy. And so the child hears, your feelings are not good. You are a bad person to express those emotions. And so guess what they do? They start inhibiting those emotions and they don't show those emotions. They either continue giving or expressing those emotions or they suppress them. And you and I know this for sure, that when those emotions are not expressed, they will show up in a different way. Even to that child who is quiet, they will be withdrawn, for example. Not all, of course, children withdraw, but that is one of the consequences. You'd see a child withdraw and say, like, my emotions don't matter. And I don't want to upset the adults, what can we say instead of asking the child to stop crying? One of the things that I use, and maybe for those of you many who knows that, I have been in early childhood for a little bit, one of the things and one of the technique, honestly, I use and it works, is when the child is crying, I ask them, tell me why you're crying. Tell me what's the matter. Tell me the story. Let's say, assume that the child has fallen and maybe they come to you running and they are crying, they are screaming, and you kind of stop crying. Instead of that, you can say, tell me what's the matter. I see you're crying. What happened? Tell me the story. And they will say, I fell down. And so I follow up with a question, oh my, that must have been hard. Are you crying because you're scared, or you're crying because you're hurt? And most of the time, they will tell me they were scared, even before they realized they were hurt. It's very scary to fall down, right? And asking, that is just an example. Asking that question is critical because then it opens a conversation, you and your child, and you give them the name or the emotions of what is bothering them, while still you are affirming that feeling that they feel. Sometimes, all of us actually, sometimes we don't need even people to give us a lecture of what it is that we are supposed to do. We just need a listening ear. Most children just want a listening ear. Can you validate? I know it's bad, I'm throwing a temper tantrum, but can you affirm? The other one is, this is, how can I put it, this one? This one, I will put it, we say it probably to deter a behavior or to tell the children what they should be doing. And many times we tell our children, number 2, you need to be listening to adults. Okay, mom, caregiver, dad, grandparents, which adults? We don't live in the same world, probably you and I were raised. Not all adults are safe per se, and we know it. But why we would tell children that even if they were safe, let's assume they were all safe. Can you imagine a child walking to any mom, to any dad, and talking to them, and the person looks at them and is like, I'm not your mother, or I'm not your mom. It's like the child goes, what happened? They told me that they can talk to any adult. I need to listen to adults. That is creating an assumption that all adults are good, and all adults actually, whatever it is that they do is right, and whatever it is that that they say is okay. And you and I know it is not true. So instead of telling them to listen to the adults, it is actually better to tell them, listen to the teacher, if it is in the school environment, or listen to mom and dad, or to whoever is in question at that moment, whoever is doing the work of supervising the child. Listen to that person. They will keep you safe. And I know many times we want to tell children that when we go in a gathering and all those things, that there is a space for that. But in general, asking your child to be talking to anyone is telling them, you know what, you can talk to anybody. And actually what happens, they do not develop a healthy, really stranger danger or distrust to that stranger. I would call it probably, what is the name? The name I would call it is a healthy distrust to the stranger until they get to know them, and until they get to spend time with one another. So when we tell the child to talk to only mom and dad, or to those who are close to them, what we are giving them is critical thinking. It is very important. It is very, very important. This one, the other one is one which is very interesting. I know. Please, if you have to comment, be kind and nice, because this one is controversial. But for me, in my own opinion, it is one of the, I don't know how to put it, but allow me to kind of vent out here. The third one, point number 3. I just hear people, adults, teachers, caregivers, tell the children, you need to share. These toys are for school. You need to share. Or you brought that toy to school, so you need to share. Really, do they have to share? Do they have to? It is their own, for example. Or a child maybe had thought a project and had gathered the toys and they had the work for every toy. And now all of a sudden another child comes in and is like, I need that toy. And you tell the child, you need to share. Really? So what you have done already, you have disrupted their thought process to whatever it is that they wanted to do with the toys that at hand. Secondly, you are telling the child that they do not own anything. That is what the child hears. It's like, I don't own anything. Everything belongs to other people. And in fact, in turn, that can develop a kind of an unhealthy, self-sacrificial kind of giving. That anytime you say something, it's like, oh, I will give. Just so you also can feel probably empowered. Now, what can you do instead? Instead of asking the children to share, personally, I tell them, ask your friend whether they can share. Talk to your friend. If they don't have words, and I say, my friends, sometimes they say, may I pray with your toy, please? And if the child is entitled to say no. And if they insist of not sharing, I don't insist they share. Actually, I don't use that word. Instead, what I use the word to empower the child who has the toy, and if it is their toy from home or wherever it is, they are being asked to share, I tell them, talk to your friend, or how about we take turns? Ask your friend when they're going to be done. And it always works. It does. Because what happens, you empower that child, and now they feel empowered to make the decision. And they do make the decision to give. And they feel empowered. And the other person, of course, you have taught them how to communicate with their friends that they're not entitled. The other thing is, thank you for allowing me to vent out that one. The other one is, and this one is very interesting, during the gatherings, when you go to other families out there and you're in public spaces, maybe in the store, a child does a naughty thing and you tell the child, we will talk when we get home. What the child here is, woo, I'm not safe. I'm not safe at home. When I go home, I might get hurt. And the child is like, I don't want to go home. I don't want to go home. I want to stay outside. Technically, we all know, you and I know this. I know I grew up like this. When you be told that, and you know for sure things are not going to be pretty. And so we know this. When we tell our children, we will talk when we get home, they instinctively understand and they know things are not necessarily good. So instead of telling them, because that is a threat, to be honest, they know it, they understand it. And it may not actually be something bad that you're going to tell them at home, but instinctively now they're praying, they have to be safe. So instead of that, you can say, you can actually talk directly to your child, and or to, if you're the caregiver or the teacher, you can directly tell them, this is what it is that you're doing, and this is what we are supposed to do. That is what we agreed on. You tell them directly what it is, how it is affecting maybe the whole environment. If you're a teacher, you're transitioning from one space to the other, you can tell the child, they understand. You can talk to them like human beings, because they are, and they will understand. You reason with them, and you redirect them in another space where they can do whatever it is that they're doing, which is maybe distracting others from doing the normal routines that they do. If you're at the store, if you're a caregiver, a mom, dad, you can actually talk directly to your child. What you're doing is not okay, because 1, 2, 3, or tell me why you did what you did. They will tell you. They are so intelligent. Okay, the other one is when a child does, the same thing. When a child does something, for example, in the store again, and you are ordering that is unusual, or that is an interesting behavior. It's, again, they're naughty. And you kind of look at them straight to the face and you go, who taught you this? Oh, even if it is a good thing or not so good thing, when you tell the child, who taught you this, what are you telling the child? What the child hears is, oh, you mean mom, dad, grandma, or caregiver, teacher don't know that I did this, I decided to do this? You mean I have to assign blame to somebody else? I have to point a finger. And you know what? Actually, they start. In other words, the child is feeling is like, this is not me then. Then I will have, because I've been told I have to assign this to somebody else. If it is something that is upsetting to you as the adult, in my own opinion, the better way to go about it is to ask the child, why did you decide to do this? Because the decision they made. They made a decision. They make decisions. Why did you decide to do this? What is interesting, honestly, they will tell you, and especially when they don't feel threatened, because to them they were just leading their own little young life. They were just, their world was real, so they were just doing what they thought was great. So they will tell you, oh, I was building a house and I went there and I knocked them down and the cereal boxes all fell down, if it is in the store. They will tell you. Then, of course, that is a teaching moment. You tell them, okay, then we have to put those boxes together back, or you have to figure out then how to put them back because they're not ours. And the child will not, will kind of, maybe help, or you, the parent, or you, mom, dad, caregiver, you can redirect them to what it is that need to be done instead of assigning the blame of the behavior to another person. The child is responsible. They make choices. They are so smart, only they're little, but they're so good, and they will explain to you why they were doing what it is that they did. Now, maybe attached to that is another point that we look at other children, again, for example, out there, and we say, oh, look, so and so can do little good at this. That is comparing. What do you feel when you're compared with an employee, with another mother, another father, another grandmother, another adult? What do you feel? They feel the same way. They don't feel good enough. They don't feel that they can actually measure up to what it is that you're looking, or to what it is that you would expect of them. So what do? They stop trying. They don't feel that there is no need to try anymore because you're not impressed. And maybe actually the other child is really good at whatever it is that they did. But you can look at your child and say, yes, they're good at that. You can also do it. You can do it. You can do it. Remembering that every child is unique in their own ways. They are gifted in their own ways. And that they are brought in a way that they have a unique way to express themselves, especially when they are young. Actually, to the lifetime, we don't want to be compared. Just affirming to your child what their strengths are without calling attention to their own self is very important. Instead of comparing them, or instead of pointing to another child who is successful, and that time the child is really struggling maybe with that task, and they're trying, and they cannot get there. All right, last but not the least, I would like us to think of something that is critical, and that is the way we tell the children when a child asks a very weird, funny question with big words, sometimes not necessarily nice, and you say, you're too little to know such things. What they hear is like, oh, I'm not supposed to know. And you know what, actually they'll go and know it from somewhere else, or they still keep on using maybe whatever it is that the question was. So instead of telling them that they are little, you can say, tell me more. What else do you know? Or you can tell them, actually, I don't know, but we can work together to find out. How about we work together to find out? And then I will tell you, we will discover together what it is. Again, thank you, thank you. That's the end. And again, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Please share your ideas. Let me know how it is that you have gone about some of those things. Let's help and equip our children with tools that can help them be prepared to face life with confidence while we are supporting them social emotionally to flourish. Thank you so much for listening. See you in the next video.